The NFL draft concluded, and there were some surprise picks the first day. The most notable we'll talk about right now. Michael Penix Jr. gets drafted by the Atlanta Falcons after they signed Kirk Cousins to a mega deal this offseason. The Falcons GM said that they couldn't let Penix Jr. talent be passed up because they know they won't be drafting that high in future drafts in the coming years. The thought is that Penix Jr. Can learn from Kirk Cousins. Thoughts on this? First reactions.
I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard from anybody ever. They did, I will tell you, like, they can say all they want. Oh, we won't be drafting this high. They did nothing to improve their team in 2024 or 2025, for that matter, in the first round having the 8th overall pick. You had an opportunity to go get Roma Donze, who literally would have added another massive weapon to Cousins' artillery that he already has there. Their defense gives up like 40 points a game. You could have taken any of the first defender off the board should have gone to Atlanta. I'm actually in shock. The amount of D tackles, it was a cornerback deep class too. You could have gotten anybody that you wanted on the defensive side of the football to improve an already dog shit defense. They didn't do it. So if I'm Cousins camp, I have a lot of questions too. Not only to mention, Penix is 23. He's about to be 24 in May. How long is he going to learn from him? 2, maybe 3 years? He can be 27 years old. I don't understand the pick. It's a head scratcher, and no matter what explanation they give, it makes no sense.
Yeah, and I mean, you're exactly right, Houdini. And they kept their, I don't want to call him a franchise quarterback, but they're paying him like a franchise quarterback completely in the dark. He had no idea this was coming. And when you take a look at Kirk Cousins' contract, it's really front loaded. The first 2 years, basically all that guaranteed money goes to him. So they're basically setting this up for, getting Kirk out the door right away. With what the GM said, an extremely bold statement for an organization that really hasn't done much since they choked away that Super Bowl. You're exactly right on the pass rush too, Houdini. They had one of the worst pass rush defenses for the past 4 or 5 years. I believe they haven't had anybody with over 10 sacks since 2016. That's horrible in today's NFL when you're throwing 35, 40 times a game. So really bold for a guy that really only popped off for 1 year to, kind of alter your franchise. It's a very, very bold statement from them.
I think the highlight for this for me was just seeing all the Falcon fans all over social media, just like crying, screaming, whatever you want to call it. It was entertaining. I do feel bad, but I did get some enjoyment and laughter out of it. So I appreciate the pick in a sense because it made me laugh. But I do feel really bad though. I mean, jeez.
There's always one franchise that makes a pick where you're like, oh my God, right? Thank God it wasn't mine this year.
It's usually the Raiders too.
Yeah, or the Raiders. But it just blows my mind. They blow their next 4 picks on defensive guys. You had anyone you wanted.
Yeah.
Now, if you're Michael Penix Jr., are you upset that the Falcons drafted you knowing that Kirk Cousins is there? To where he's probably not going to go anywhere and he's clearly going to be the starter there unless he gets injured?
Let me go first, Houdini, because the famous quote in the NFL is the best job in the NFL is a backup quarterback. So no, I don't think that he's going to be upset about this at all. With his injury risk, it's 2 more years probably of him not playing and 2 more years closer to his next contract.
Yeah, I mean, Deepaw's point on Cousins' contract is important. I do think this is a 2-year gig for Cousins, and then he's getting bought out. So I do think it's Penix's team in the future. You get an opportunity to learn from a guy that's been in the league for 15 years now, 12 years now. Like it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, not quite 15, but definitely over 10 for sure.
And look, he's getting paid top 10 money.
Yeah.
I got no problem with this if I'm Penix.